Happy Monday, everyone. It's Greg Dixon here with Betty Withrow. And we normally on Mondays, we focus on writing and publishing. And today our topic is going to be, I got a magic banner here. Let's see. Writing habits for maintaining momentum. So all of us are busy and a lot of us are easily distracted, and writers especially are tend to cultivating distractions, procrastinating. They make it a fine art. But so we're going to talk about, Betty, you've got some ideas about how to get things going. What we mean by momentum is steady progress. Like if you can make daily progress, and then you can get your book done in our lifetime.
Right.
So here we go.
In our lifetime.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So what do you have to say here?
Before the next century mark hits, you want to have your book happening. In fact, well before the next century mark hits, you would like to have your book happening. So how do you do that? Well, habit is stronger than will. So my suggestion is that you use your will to build your habits. And here's what I mean by that. First I'll share a little trick that I have taught many times for people who have a procrastination problem, which, as Greg pointed out, is most people. I learned this trick because I was presented with a really messy and awful family situation that I was the only person who could resolve it. And I had a lot of emotional issues and mental issues and time and space issues about what it was going to take to do this. And so I made the decision, keyword decision, that I would not allow this to take over my life. Instead, I was going to organize it to death. So here's what I did. I had a stack of papers about like that had to be handled in whatever level of priority I could assign to them. And I went, okay, first I'm going to take control of my energy. And what I did is at the same time every day, I would set aside 20 minutes and go into my office and look at that stack of papers and go, what am I going to deal with today? Pick out one, work on it for that 20 minutes. And then at the end of the 20 minutes, stop and walk away. And what I found is that within a short period of time, about a week or so, my attitude about it started to really change, which was key to building the momentum to getting rid of that stack for good. So here's what this is all about, is that first you create a state change within your mind that you're going to go ahead into this. And this works for things that you want to do and are procrastinating, as well as things that you have to do and are procrastinating, or anything in between. Anything that you want to actually accomplish and set a rhythm for, you can do this. Start by going to the same place at the same time every day. Ideally, if you can have a place that's set aside for just that thing, awesome. If not, you can create a state change by something as simple as moving a cup from one side of the desk to the other, announcing to your brain that this is that time. Then go ahead and do whatever it is that is right in front of you that needs to be done for that 20 minutes, and then stop and reverse the order of the state change by moving it or lighting a candle, blowing the candle out, whatever works for you as your signal to your mind that you're taking this time for that specific purpose. And why do you have to stop at 20 minutes? You may be thinking, I got this, I'm on fire. And then I'm just going to go through for the next hour. Well, the next day, when you go to do it, your mind's going to go, hey, you promised me 20 minutes and it turned into an hour and I'm not doing this, right? And remember, it's your emotions that you're wanting to tame here, because your emotions are behind you, pushing you to where you want to go. And you're using your mind and your consciousness to steer the boat, but it's your emotions that are the engine of the boat. So you want to really honor your emotions and cultivate them in this way, and soon your mind will look forward to that time, because it's one of two kinds of pleasures. It's either something that you really have been wanting to do and you're finally getting to do it, or it's another kind of pleasure is, I'm going to finally get this over with, and that's a pleasure in itself. So it's your mind is oriented in two ways. You're moving towards something, the thing you want. You're moving away from something, the thing you don't want. So I encourage people to really, especially if you're having an experience where you're just consistently not showing up for whatever it is you want to do, you can use this trick to jumpstart your mind and begin to build momentum. It's one trick to build an actual habit of it. Another thing you can do if you have little pieces of time or consciousness that like you have a minute, a 1 minute. A 1 minute trick is to take an index card yonder and set your phone timer for 1 minute and do a brain dump. Drop out everything that's in your mind about whatever it is that's on your mind, and start looking for patterns as you digest this index card after the 1 minute. But during the 1 minute, don't think. Just spit it out, dump it out, whatever it is, and put it on the paper. If you think of it more than once, write it more than once. You do this a few times, you'll start to find that you're developing a pattern in your mind. And another thing you can do is when you have that stack of index cards and you're at that 20-minute place, you can look at the cards and go, okay, where am I going with this? Because you can see the words or the concepts that repeat and go, I can tie these together. And this can drop into the chapter outline, which we've discussed in a previous broadcast. And once that happens, you're going to be on fire because you've got all the concepts lined up in an order that is going to make sense in your mind. And you can just kick whatever's hanging you up out of the picture and say, I am doing this. So again, habit is stronger than will. When you build those habits, like writing every day, we're working on your project every day at the same time, in the same place. It's like in the same time, same bat channel. That's how it's done.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought up many things. I'm glad you brought the outlining in because I think that's the one place where people get stuck. They're sitting there staring at a blank piece of paper. They don't know where to start. If you've got your outline done, the rest of it's just filling in the blank spaces, so that can overcome a lot of it. And the other thing about you mentioned timing. So set aside some time. So even you make great progress, even if you only do 15 minutes a day, at least dedicate that 15 minutes, block it out, do whatever your thing is to get your space. And then I've used a timer app sometimes, and Atticus has a timer built in. Which can be used for different purposes, but it's just to focus on. And the habits, as you mentioned, doing a habit every day. I think we were talking about earlier today about Woody Allen had a writing process. He just got up in the morning every single day. I think he wrote a bit before breakfast, and he had some breakfast, and he wrote a bit more, had some lunch, wrote a bit more, and then he went out for a bit, and then he went and played music at night. And he did it every single day. Whatever his time was, his day started at 6 in the morning. And then he would do this every single day until he was finished. And then he would just push that off to his publicist, put it in the mail. And then he would start the next one right there. He'd start writing the first one and go from there. And it's just a habit. What was the word you said? Equivalent of discipline overcomes.
Oh, yeah. Habit is stronger than will.
Habit is stronger than will.
You say,
yes.
Oh, I've got the willpower. I can do this. And then something comes up and says, do you really have the willpower? Do you really have the willpower? And then your conscious mind goes, whatever number of distractions it is. But habit, like in the book Atomic Habits, the author talks about taking that, whatever habit it is you want to build, and tying it to a habit that you're already doing. Yeah. And rewarding yourself. That's one of the key things to build that. And I forgot to mention that earlier. After you've done your 20, reward yourself. It could be anything, a small piece of chocolate, an extra 10 minutes to go out for the walk. Oh yeah, I could have another cup of coffee, whatever it is, whatever floats your boat, so to say, that makes your mind anticipate that small reward. Don't make it a big one, because then you'll hang yourself up in a different way. But something that you can relate to, that fits into who you are, that makes you go, oh, that was cool. I want to do it again.
Yeah.
And and all of this takes place at there's a moment in a day where it's like the crease in the day where you're changing from one spot to another. Like maybe you've got all your morning stuff done. For me, it's like, okay, I think I've done my due diligence as an editor for the day. I can do something different, if it's an editing day. And then I literally have the ability to focus in a different context. So everybody has that. Everybody has 20 minutes that they aren't using possibly as well as they could somewhere. And so it can be something like, well, don't check the news, write your book
Yes, for
instead.
sure.
Who's it? Nassim Nicholas Taleb says sometimes his friends get mad at him for not watching movies, and he says, the thing is that I read books instead, and I read like 13 extra books a year because of all the movies I don't watch. Over
Yeah,
time, that adds up
for
to a
sure.
considerable library of
Yeah.
things that I can actually use in my life. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So there we go. So one of the things, especially for new writers, is they say to themselves something like, "Oh, when I have enough time that I can sit down and write, I'll get around to writing my book, right?" And
Right.
anyway, um, uh, Julia Cameron, the Artist Way person, in the Right to
Mhm.
Write, she said, "I've never ever had time to write a book." This is her 10th book in. It says,
Yeah.
for example, I'm writing this chapter here while I'm, waiting for the water to fill for the horses. Says the previous chapter, I was waiting in the at the doctor's office, and I wrote that chapter there. And
Yeah.
then the one before that, I was waiting for my flight to leave. I never really had dedicated time to write anything, hardly
Uh-huh.
ever. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
so it's just,
Yeah.
but just says take those moments, and as you said with your cards and things, it doesn't have to be. You can write something that could
Mhm.
be used later, organized later,
Right.
whatever. It's just
Right.
the fact of get pen to paper or
Mhm.
type something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Key points, key concepts, or an awesome word that popped into your mind that you're not going to remember later. Drop it on an index card. Index cards are amazing.
Yeah.
And then there's people who all they do is write. Like in his wonderful book on writing, Stephen King talks about how if you're a professional writer, you sit down and write every day. Doesn't We don't talk about how you're feeling, none of that. You sit there until you've made your word count, and whatever your word count is, that goal that you set for yourself. Until you've made that word count, you're not done.
Yeah,
So
you're
don't
not
talk
done.
about writer's block. You'll be sitting there all day going, I can't do this.
Yeah, you can't have that coffee till you hit.
Yeah, you
We're
will not leave this chair until the article is done.
yeah,
And
yeah, and
that, that's another way to look at it.
yeah, no, and that in itself builds momentum because you're just getting into that habit of writing,
Hmm.
and even sometimes not you don't even necessarily worry about the quality of it. You just write it, and the more people write, the better the quality gets
Right.
anyway.
That's right.
And then it's got to go through multiple editing fields anyway. So just get it out there and then go back and
Yeah.
and then you can go back and say, well, what was I thinking?
Totally, totally. And yeah, and that's one of the biggest tips of all is do not self-edit. If there's anything that's going to kill your momentum, it's going, oh no, there's a typo in the last sentence and trying to fix it. That's like absolutely uncool, unproductive, and unhelpful
Yeah,
all at once. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody in our studio audience here has any questions or suggestions. What's your favorite momentum hack to keep you going, making sure you're making progress? And I would say at least if you had a milestone to at least do something every single day, whatever, however modest that was.
Yeah. Yeah. And you need to have freedom, um, but in your creativity, in order to write things that have value. And in order to have freedom, you really do need structure, because otherwise there's this chaos going around, and your emotions will argue with you about why you can't do something. And if instead you have a structure and you say, oh, I can fulfill this structure, then it's a much easier atmosphere for the mind and the creative process.
Awesome. We're back to our outline again.
Back to the outline again. Yep.
Because the beauty of the outline is you're looking at it and you say, at that moment, you say, I'm not sure why I picked this order, but I can't think of it. But let's just run with it for now.
Right? Yeah, exactly. There's a book I'm working on at this very moment where the first draft is being created directly from the outline. And just like you just said, well, why did we decide to do it this way? Well, we don't really know. But it's going to be like that until it's a ghostwrite until the author decides that it needs to be different, because that's the first decision, and it's going to it'll go through the tunnel a few times before it comes out with the lights on.
Yeah. And that's the process you enjoy the most, isn't it?
Yeah. It is working with another person to take what's in their mind and hone the communication so that they can reach other minds effectively is a wonderful and great joy, and it's a huge privilege. Like this particular gentleman is a native German speaker, and he speaks excellent English and with a German mind. So I'm like working on how am I going to bring it all to where it can land in English for theoretically anyone. I'll be using American English, but I'm trying not to take away too much of his Germanness, because it lends to the charm of how he speaks and how he gets his point across. So it's a fine line.
So you remember what Mark Twain said about German?
No.
Because they take one part of the verb over here and then they take the other part of the verb way over there, and in the middle of the shovel in German. Like the ultimate split infinitive, right?
It's totally that way. You can fit an entire concept into one word.
Yeah.
That's the love-hate part of German as a language.
That's why it was a scientific language, is because you could explain almost anything. You could Franken merge some kind of a bunch of stuff to make a word to describe something.
Franken merge, yeah. That's good. Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah. So do you have any other tips other than as we always say, just do it?
Just do it. Yeah, just do it. Reach out to Total Traffic and Conversion if you're looking for ways to get your message out into the world. And we've got the skills and the knowledge to make that happen.
That's true. And
if you're stuck on your writing, book an appointment with me and we'll fix that.
Because you provide writing coaching and ghostwriting, all sorts of things, and then we help with the marketing and all that stuff. Full service shop.
Yes, we do. That's what we're all about. One converging conversion process. That was spontaneous, folks. That came in.
That was spontaneous. You heard it here first.
Right.
Anyway, we also, I don't know if you may have noticed, we had to like to have fun.
Yeah.
So, if you're grouchy, don't call us.
Yeah.
But if you want to have fun with your marketing and your writing, and we can really help you go places. So.
Yeah. Yes, we can, and yes, we will.
Yes, we can, and yes, we will. That sounds like a 1930s radio sound off or something.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your Monday, everyone, and start your writing habits now. Pay attention to some of the suggestions and just get writing. Just do it.
Yeah. Showing up is the whole thing. So
showing up. Alrighty. Okay, here's our little video again, and then salut.
Salut.